Hi, I'm Andre The Beast Crayton, and welcome to another episode on the Andre The Beast Show. Please subscribe, rate, and review. I greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to think how I'm going to open this segment up. So I think the only fitting way to do it is to come out very strong. Today, I have on my show two legends. And let me explain to you exactly what I think legends are. Legends are almost like superheroes. They're individuals that inspire us all the time, all through our lives, to childhood, all the way into adulthood. And they're sharing their message even today. Legends are those that become icons, universal, worldwide. I remember coming to Indianapolis and watching the news, and I remember seeing these two individuals. I'm not mentioning who they are yet, so bear with me. Well, you recognize that laugh, but we'll hold down a second. These two individuals are definitely the embodiment of legends. Their stories have always impacted us. They have deeply impacted me, and I have them on my show today to impact you guys. The name of the show is Beast, and people need to understand what that means. That means that every day you're doing something positive, you're playing something positive. When all hopes feel lost, you find a way to get up and you keep moving. Without further ado, my two guests, Patty Spitler and the Queen, Tina Cosby.
My goodness.
Oh, the Queen.
Newly anointed, no doubt.
I know, I'm not a princess. I want to be a princess.
You want to be the princess? I've never heard that, but thank you so much.
Hey.
What an incredible introduction.
Oh, I know.
Wow.
Only fitting. So, let's start with Patty first. Welcome to the show. Patty, the road has been traveled, and you have definitely scored a lot of points worldwide, from interviewing celebrities to having a national holiday named after you. Yeah, I need to know how you got that one. And
I think that's just Indiana, but that's fine. And puppies, don't forget the puppies.
And the puppies.
And the puppies in there.
Great days. And I mean, you have been truly an entrepreneur in a major landmark. Explain to our viewers a little bit of that journey.
Okay, how much time do we have?
You got plenty of time.
No, thank you. You're very sweet. Nothing happens when you just go in one direction. I've been lucky too. I've known people who have helped me along the way, as Tina has. We started in broadcasting where there weren't that many women doing it. And for me, I can say, because I know some people say, well, you know, men were they were the ones in the position of power. So they but afforded us the opportunity to have a voice and to put our perspective out there. As started in radio for me, and then went on to TV and did that for 23 years at Wish TV. I quit because of my, look at that close up there, hearing aids, and cochlear implant on this side. I had hearing loss, and I quit December 24th, 2004. So it was official in 2005. And then for 5 years, I went to the dog, got a dog, went to the dog park. Little did I know, I was researching sort of what the next phase of my life would be, which is, came to my back door, and old producer I know, a seasoned producer I know, said, would you like to do a pet show? And I thought, well, that'll last about 6 months. It's been 11 years. We're up in 23 markets. And also then Great Day TV, which started off as Boomer TV. We started that in the 2014, so that's been 6 years for that. And that covers all ages, good, positive stories. So it's a nice counterbalance to the news. And of course, the pet show I love because I learn things all the time. Did you know that a cat can have kittens at 4 months of age? Did you know that?
I knew that.
You do?
Yeah. I do my research.
Now we
Did you know most orange cats are male?
I knew that too. I did my research.
Okay. Good night, everybody. So anyway, I've been lucky. I now volunteer for all the things I do. I enjoy it so much. My payment is when people come up and they say thank you. You know, I really liked your story, or I like what you did on the radio, and that for me helps. And I'm lucky that, you know, I made some good investments along the way, and now I can do what I want to do, and I don't have a boss. Yay!
That's
So,
There's
but
the key
it's
right
the hard part is when you do a show on your own, as far as putting it together, you have to work every day.
Right.
It's not like you quit at 5 o'clock and go home.
Right.
I'm still working. But again, I love it. That's what I do, and that's my life. There.
We'll come back with some questions on all those topics. Tina, the queen.
The Queen, indeed. I got to work on that one. I'm not quite sure how that works, but I remember when Patty was talking and encapsulating, you know, her life and her journey. A vision came to me just this second, and there was remember on the old Warner Brothers cartoons, and they had the big magnet. And the magnet would always pull, you know, the oversized magnet just kept pulling and pulling and pulling. Well, for me, that's how broadcasting has been up until the point where I finally decided, you know what, this is where I'm supposed to be, I guess. I started out in college, pre-med, because I wanted to be a doctor.
Wow. Okay.
And had to take an extra class in writing, and there was a professor that said, hey, you know, you've got a flair for writing. What a lot of people don't understand about being in television and in news, 90% of your job is researching and writing.
Okay.
10% is being on TV. That's the very last of it. That's kind of like the icing that you put once you've baked the cake, so to speak. You know, performing and being on and broadcasting, that's just a little bitty part of it. And so I always had a thing for writing. And so he said, well, why don't you try this class, and then try this class, and then try another one and another one. So then they, you know, it got into putting pictures to words, and I'm like, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a doctor. And
what kind of doctor were you?
Psychiatrist. I'm gonna be a psychiatrist.
Really?
Yeah.
We're in
That's why
trouble.
we get along. You're my psychiatrist now. No,
I
I
wanna be a
know.
psychiatrist. But be that as it may, you know, I was like, you know what, I this has been fun, Professor, but I've really got to get back to my studies. And he said, do one thing for me, just one thing. He said, there's an internship here in Louisville, Kentucky. It's close to where you're from. And if you and just compete for it. I'm not saying you'll get it, just compete for it.
Right.
Send them a writing sample and compete. So I sent them a writing sample, and they like, we like. So I got chosen for the internship. And he said, if you don't want to go into television like I think you should after the internship, I will pay for you to catch up to all of your other. He said, I'll personally pay for it out of my pocket. Oh. I'm like, hey, that's a bet, you know, because I'm not going to want to do well, guess what?
Here we are.
I did it, and it was bigger than I thought it was going to be. It was a lot. It came a lot more naturally, I guess you would say. I don't know. I'm not quite sure.
Did you contact the professor that?
Oh, I had to go
changed
back.
your
I wasn't
career?
done.
You
I wasn't
done?
No. This is my junior year, so I had to go back. And so he said, I went back with a demonstration tape, audition, whatever, you know, however you want to say it. I came back. We just say a tape. I came back with
tape.
I came back with the tape. And you know, he did just like you. He had that position. He said, "So, Miss Cosby,
Miss Cosby,
what do you think?"
What do you think?
And I said, never mind. Okay, I'm good. I'm in. And so I ended up finishing in 4 years in a summer session just to catch up and do whatever. And actually, my tape was sent to, you know, once you get started in broadcasting, you connect a lot. My tape was sent to someone else a friend of someone else's that was at the internship, and the person wanted to hire me a semester before I graduated. And so I talked to that professor again, and I said, should I graduate at University of Kentucky instead of Indiana University? He said, look, here's the thing. If you've got one offer now, you'll get offers. If that tape got you one offer now, you'll get offers later. So on my spring break, friends and I went to Atlanta, and I just dropped off tapes along the way. Just dropped them off. When I graduated, a couple of months after that, had an offer to go to Chattanooga, Tennessee, to work. And when I was at Chattanooga, a friend of mine that was a friend of another friend called and said there was a gentleman in Indianapolis who needs some help. He needs, you know, kind of a beginning level reporter, who was, of course, Lee Giles, who was a friend of Ken Kurtz, who was at WKYT in Lexington, Kentucky. And Patty, you know, it just all connects. And I said, okay, I'll go. So
was
I went.
Patty there the same time that you got the offer
I started
to go
in
to Indy?
'82 with a show
I got
called
there in 80,
Indianapolis
yeah,
Afternoon.
she was there. She was
Okay.
there.
When did you start in?
83.
83? So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
So I went into the news after the Indianapolis Afternoon. It went off the
Patty
air
was in
because it got
entertainment
sold.
when I got there, yeah.
Entertainment.
She
We'll
and Dick
talk about that in
Wolfsey
a
were,
minute.
she and Dick. But anyway, I'm going to fast forward. So went to Wish. I didn't expect to get the job. Got the job because I was expecting to do something else. And again, it's like, well, you got the job. Every time I got the job, that's why I get that magnet, So you've got the job. And I'm like, oh, okay. So anyway, worked there for a little while. Then as a reporter, then became a weekend anchor, then became a weekday anchor, left for a while to reevaluate my life. That was about a year. Worked at Channel 6 for a little while, then just stayed off. And another gentleman that was there said, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm not working, blah, blah, blah. Scott Blumenthal.
Yep.
And he said, well, I've got an opening. And he said, it's in management. And I said, I don't know anything about management. He said, you telling me that? You think I don't know that? You can do it. And I'm like, what? So here again, brings me back. He said, well, just give it a try. So did that. I became community affairs director at Wish TV. Did that for about 14 years.
That was a long time.
14 years.
And
then
you had
we
a very
were,
nice office, too.
Yeah, I had a nice office. It was good. It
So
was
why
nice.
do you think all the
So-
pullbacks? Because I keep hearing you mention the pullbacks. What were some of the reasons for the pullbacks?
I think part of it might have been that maybe I didn't take it as I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
You know.
Maybe because I could do it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only, I mean, in the simplest of forms, it's because you could do it. I could do it. What Scott saw, I don't know. I really, really don't know why he felt as if I was a manager and could transition to management. I don't know. But once I did it, I liked it. And I liked it a lot better. And like Patty said, it was a whole lot different. In management, you're almost like your own boss. So I really, really enjoyed management. So new company comes in, buys out, gets rid of all non-revenue generating departments. Patty understands that too. Community, which is what I was in management was a non-generating department. So once again, I'm off for 2 years and I'm working, doing a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, I'm substitute teaching. I'm just doing everything, trying to figure out what my next chapter is going to be. Lo and behold, I get a call. Hey, would you like to come and work in radio? I'm like, I don't know, Ray. I've never done radio. What are you talking about? Radio. So the next chapter started with WTLC that made me community affairs director. So as a hybrid job, manager and talk show talk show host. And once again, that magnet pulled me right back in. And it's like, well, this is another chapter. And so I told them, they're like, well, of course you've done radio before. And I'm like, of course I've not done radio before.
Right.
And it's a completely different beast, indeed. And I'm still learning it. So I've been doing radio for years. So, and I love it. I'm enjoying it. It's issues-oriented talk. It's managing 5 other radio stations and 1 TV station as far as community affairs is concerned.
Right.
So I have that responsibility in addition to a whole bunch of other ones that just keep drawing me back in. So Patty's chapter 1 was radio, then TV. My chapter 1 was TV, and now radio. So chapter 2 radio, chapter 1 radio, chapter 2 TV. Mine chapter 1 TV, chapter 2. Radio. So it's a learning experience, and why I keep getting drawn back, I don't know, but I think I accept it now. Maybe I just didn't. I don't know. I don't know, Patty.
It's funny
So-
because you have to look at. I look at all the things that I can't do.
Exactly.
Like what
exactly.
are some of the things you can't do because
For
your
heaven's
resume
sake.
is like get
No.
real. Your resume is like this. So what are some of the things that? And I'm glad you went down there because we're gonna go there with you too. What are some of the things you couldn't do? Because there had to be some things that you set out to do.
No.
And
No, I did set out one
Okay.
time. Let's see. In high school, I got into drama because I was the chubby, shy girl, and all of a sudden
Really?
I heard a little of this, and I like that. So, and because I had a deeper voice, I got the older person parts. So that helped to bring me out of my shell a little bit. But then, and in radio, you're behind. They don't see you.
Right.
But then when I got into TV, put the theater background together with this. So everything, here's what we can gain or glean, I guess, from this. One builds on the other. You don't necessarily, if you have blinders on or like a horse and you only see in one direction, you have to open it up a little bit. I'm doing things I never thought I would do before. Producing shows, helping with reporters, getting things set up. Before I was just doing my own segment. Now I'm looking at the larger picture. Oh, and I have to do sales too.
Yeah.
That's hard.
I know.
That's
I know.
hard.
I can't imagine.
So you just take what you learn, but don't, especially now. I mean, I'm Zooming and Skyping and all this stuff. I never even knew these things like 3 or 4 months ago. So learn, build on what you know, but don't keep yourself in one position. You have to get bigger.
It's about transferable skill sets.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
It's all about transferable skill sets, and that's the one thing that the GM that pulled me back in to go into management taught me. And he said, "You're never gonna, if you keep saying I can." He said, "But you have the foundation. Based on what you do every day, you can manage. You just have to learn how to manage and learn management." So that's the one thing I do accept as well.
Well, you mentioned what can't you do. The one job I had between high school and college, I had to get. I worked a lot. I worked in college and radio, but the one job I had I worked for. It was called Reich's in Dayton, Ohio. It's a department store.
Is that where you're from?
Dayton, Ohio, yeah. Okay. Big city called Dayton, Ohio. Yeah. And then traveled around and then ended up in Indianapolis. I thought I'd be here like a year, and then here I am.
So you and me both.
38 years later, still here. Yeah. This is home. But what I did at Reich's is I sold bras.
Is that on your resume?
I never wrote a resume. There's something else that Tina mentioned. I'd get phone calls or somebody would know somebody.
And they say, "Where your resume?"
I never wrote out a resume. But I remember selling bras, and I thought the ones that are bigger want the smaller bras, and the ones that are smaller want the bigger bras. And then I remember one of the managers came up to me once, and I was standing there like this, and he goes, "You need to be working." And I said, "Oh, you're right." I said, "Busy hands are happy hands." And he looked at me, and I thought, well, he doesn't appreciate my humor. I'm getting out of here. Right. So that's the only other job I had outside of me.
I can't teach. When I was a substitute teaching, in my interim while I was figuring out my next move, and somebody said, "Oh, you'd be a natural teacher." I'm like, "No, I would not."
No, I would not be.
After I figured it out that I can't do it, and I have so much respect for people that go into that classroom every day. I think it's a gift. It is a calling. It has to be.
Yeah.
You go into that classroom every day, and these kids are there, and you mold the minds. And
here's something else I want to say about Tina. She is who you see and who you hear is who she is. And that's the secret to your longevity as well.
Well, the same. I can say the very same about you. I know, but you know. But Patty's exactly as she is.
What you see on TV, because the camera doesn't blink either, so you got to be careful about that.
So let me address a question to you, Patty.
Yes, sir.
I like the way she said that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Longevity. And I guess I can ask you and Tina both this question. You mentioned when you first came on that it was a male-dominated industry, and how did you navigate?
I always got along well with boys. I mean, I'm not the cutest, I'm not the smartest, but by golly, I'll work the hardest.
Okay.
And I think they recognized that. It was always the men in the position of power who gave me the opportunity. So I really have nothing. Of course, there's always some jerks along the way, but so what? Move through it. I'm not gonna. I look at the bright. That didn't work out. Then let's do this and let's move forward in a positive way.
Right.
So I really have no.
What about you, Tina? Does anything happen?
I tend to have more. I have more male friends. I'm like Patty. I have more male friends than I have female. But that is not the reason I think that Patty and I, if I may, one of the reasons I'll say that Patty and I were able to sustain in this business. It's that we can see the bigger picture.
Okay.
A lot of people, a lot of women especially, they would get caught up in certain areas and certain things that just simply were not important and were not going to get you to the next phase. And so you had to is this what I need to do to get to here, or is this what I need to get to there? Then keep your eye on the prize, keep your focus, and understand the landscape, understand it, navigate it, and move on. Because in the end, what they say or what they think is not going to matter. In the end, what matters is what you end up doing.
The other thing is too that as I said, I wasn't the cutest, the prettiest, so I didn't. When that goes away and you get older, it doesn't matter. And also, women can see that in other women.
Explain that.
Women are very keen to pick out the true.
We called them in. What do we call them in the newsroom? Cheerleaders. We called them the
but
and
I mean-
that's not a nothing
that's
nothing
okay
negative
if you've
against a
got that.
cheerleader, but that was just we
But
understood.
women, and then when you get older, or if something along the way happens, or you get fatter, or you lose your hearing, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
What matters is who you are, and they're generally the ones that control the TV set too.
Yeah, they generally are the
Or the
ones that
radio.
control- or the radio. And it just, Patty and I had a discussion because I had a question posed to me once.
What was
about,
that?
what was it like being a black? Because I'm black.
I'm glad you was going to say that because I was waiting on you to come at me with it. But yeah, that was my next question.
No, but being an African American woman, it had to be hard back in the day. Back in the 80s, it had to be difficult. And I said, Patty, I said, can I ask you a question? I said, this is the way I answered the question. And I said, I was fairly certain she would agree with me. But in all of my years of broadcasting, I'm not saying that racism was not there or didn't exist. It had, of course. But I experienced more sexism than I did racism.
Explain.
Huh?
Explain that to the viewers.
Well, at one point you couldn't have. And now it's funny because you see the whole team. They wouldn't put you on an anchor set unless you were the only female.
Yeah, they wouldn't put two women on at one time.
They wouldn't put two women on at one time.
That's not the case now, though.
Oh no, not. But that's how. That's
That's changed.
It was
changed.
fine then.
Yeah.
It's fine now.
They would not put their men on the day after Thanksgiving holiday shopping story for anything. It
Yeah.
would always
Oh,
be
yeah,
a
I
woman
remember
because
that.
women, of course, are uniquely qualified. And, there would be women in the newsroom, they would try to fight the battle. And that's the other thing. For Patty's longevity and probably mine too, learn which fights to pick.
Oh, yeah.
And learn how to pick those battles.
I
You had to
always
learn.
say that.
Have
You
you
have to
actually
learn the
pulled
landscape.
somebody in your field, mentor that you saw that being happening to, and say, "Look, you know what? You need to pick your battles."
I really didn't.
Have, yes. I
did?
remember, yeah.
Yeah.
A couple, and they're in
A
national.
couple.
Yeah, a couple,
Who
yeah.
went on?
Who went
who
on?
fought the
But yeah,
battles?
they fought
Yeah.
the battles, but I had to put them on the right track. That
Yeah.
this is not the the battle is not yours. That's going to be.
You got to look at the war, not the battle.
Exactly.
You want to win
this,
the war.
If this is where you want to
to
be, then keep your eye on this right here and there. And it's easy to get caught up in that. But a lot of the assignments would never go to women. And women would be very upset because they could handle certain things just as well. Or if something major or breaking happens, like 5 people shot, they would pull a man off of a story that he might have been doing to go and cover that. They would not put a woman out there. So that eventually, like Patty said, when women started showing that they could do and whatever, that we could all handle things equally. Now, as far as black, yes, there were some stories that used to happen that they would not give the white reporters, female or male, too. And the only reason I could think of is that I'm uniquely qualified because I'm black. And it would be Indiana Black Expo. It would be Circle City Classic. It would be anything that had to do with black people. They would pick their black reporters. And that was just insane because, other reporters need to get a background in certain things as well. Why does it have to be just the black reporters? So that was some of the, I guess you could call it racism in terms of how things were doled out, so to speak. But sexism was far more widespread, far more.
What do you think about that, Patty?
Well, I was just thinking about the Black Expo. Then how did I get to interview Mike Tyson?
It was entertainment.
Because you're pretty.
Because of entertainment, yeah. He was
Mike
in
is
for
an
entertainment.
He was in
You're
for
pretty.
entertainment. Yeah, he wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't put on the news. Yeah,
No, he wasn't. But
yeah.
I interviewed him for entertainment.
Yeah.
And how was that?
Actually, I interviewed him with, I can't even remember his name. He was with there was a rapper who was on too. And then I interviewed Mike, and he had Mike.
Yeah, I
Mr.
interviewed
Tyson.
Mike several times.
And he had this big necklace on with a jaguar on the necklace. And I said, "Oh, that's a beautiful necklace." And he goes, "You want it?" And I said, No, I just. But it's funny because he did turn to the camera then at the end of the interview, and he was a great interview. He turned the camera and he says, "I'm just looking for all you girls out there. Let you know I'm looking for you." So it was pretty clear.
Yeah.
Right.
He was there to have some fun.
Yeah,
Right,
Patty did
right.
the
I mean,
fun stuff.
yeah.
I would have been. My interviews with Mike Tyson were about his rape.
You did it
Accusations
after
of rape.
that, yeah.
Yeah, so therein
This
lies
was
the difference.
before.
Patty has always had a lighter side of showing what was going on as opposed to me. I mean, I might.
How did you feel when you had to interview him about that?
That's rough.
What was I supposed to do? What do you mean how? I mean that was just. That
I know
was
it was
just
your job,
another
but like when he was telling you,
he didn't tell me.
when you was addressing the questions to him.
He was not very friendly. I mean, I was on a couple of times, and we were in gaggle sometimes. He wasn't friendly. He wasn't gonna, because he was being accused of rape, so he wasn't gonna be friendly. He wasn't gonna warm up to me. But that was just part of what I had to do. I mean, we had to go out to Las Vegas he was training for one of his fights, and so a lot of different things. We had to go out there a couple of times. So no, he wasn't going to be nice.
I take it you was uncomfortable going out there to interview him because of that?
No.
It wasn't. That was the job.
Yeah, my job. Just it's not. I'm going to tell you something. The only time I became uncomfortable on my job, and I just never thought much about the risk, because I would be at shootings that were still active. I would be at fires that were still active, things that were going on. I was at a hostage situation once that was still active. Carl Fincham and I were at a hostage. All kinds of stuff, because you're thinking, okay, I need to get this, and this, and I need to have this much time, and I need to make sure that this is ready. You at that point you do have tunnel vision, because you're thinking of doing your job. I wasn't really thinking about that. The one time that I think I might have been a little concerned doing my job, and I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. There was a plane crash, a huge in Evansville, Indiana, and it was following another huge plane crash that had just happened a couple of weeks before. So they said, hey, we got to get a crew in the air. We got to get you guys down there. We're going to fly you. And remember that if they flew you, you just went. You drop everything and go. So we were flying and circling. I was with the photographers, Bill Fisher and I. And we were getting the aerials for the plane crash, and then we were getting ready to land. But prior to that, right before we got to the crime scene, to the crash scene, we flew over a military installment to get there. We take shortcut. All of a sudden, we see red lights in the cabin. It starts, everything stops, and we start to tilt. The automatic pilot disengages, and we're going down.
Wow.
And
you never told me that.
Oh yeah. And so the pilot, very matter of fact said, the autopilot disengaged and blah blah blah. And so I'm sitting there like this, and I'm like, what happened? He said, well, if you're in a helicopter, you don't have a whole lot of time to do so and such, and everything just stops. It feels like you're dropping. He said, but we're good now. So when we got to Evansville, he said, we can get some more. It was in Evansville. We can get some more arrows if you want. He said, or I can land right now and get a couple of things. I said, when you land, I'm getting out. And I said, and until further notice, I will not be flying in a helicopter anymore. Put a bunch of metal around me, okay? I'm flying in the planes, and they would fly us places too all the time. But that particular time, we had to get there in a hurry. We had to get into a small spot, and so they sent us.
Helicopters aren't.
And I had the right to do that. I had the right to refuse to fly in a helicopter, and I don't think it ever came up again, because I had flown a couple of times in the chopper. I had flown a couple of times, but that last time, that was my last time in a helicopter.
That's your last time.
And that's the only time I ever feared for my life on my job.
Okay, Patty.
Yes. He's thinking.
No, you guys got some great stories, man. I mean, that's why you're here, because they're great stories, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are listening, going, "Wow, Patty,
Andre,
Tina."
Yes.
Take me down a road that you thought you could not recover from.
Well, for me, it was.
I guess let me rephrase it so it makes sense.
Hearing loss for me.
We all, when you're in the public's eye, or when you are embedded or recognized as a leader, you have to put on the Superman or the Superwoman cape every day. But take me down a moment that you took the cape off and you were questioning whether or not you can put that cape back on the next day. Patty, go.
All right. 1997, I got a DUI. Remember that? You remember that. Within 4 months' time, I got a divorce, death of my mother, and a DUI. And I was coming back from Francis Ford Coppola's estate, so we'd been drinking all day when I was doing my interviews, and flew back, and we had drinks on the plane. And I shouldn't have driven home. but I did, and I got caught. Nobody got hurt, and that's good. But that was rough, because then, and I will say, our news director, Lee Giles, stood by me and said, we'll get through this, and he did. But there were people, who thought I should quit or be fired. And he was really a wonderful news director in that he kept us all together. We were family. So we did get through it. And as a matter of fact, after, they did stories on it, and it was in the newspaper, and it was in the magazines, my ratings went because love me or hate me, you knew who I was. My name was right up there. So I learned from that. And
your mom passed too, right?
That wasn't easy. That was. It's embarrassing. It's just like, how stupid can you be? I was stupid.
And your mom passed too, right? During that.
1997. It was.
She was a major impact to you too.
I'm only child. Yeah, she kind of. Hope, you remember Hope?
Mm-hmm.
She was spunky.
Yes.
Oh, she was spunky.
What is spunky? What do you mean?
Think Katharine Hepburn.
You're right.
Oh, okay.
Spunky.
That's spunky.
Yeah,
You do.
right.
My dad, German. My mom, New England. There was no. We weren't a huggy, kissy family, and they knew as an only child I had to take care of myself, and I did.
When all this stuff transpired, your ratings went up. Now what happens?
Well, then you capitalize on it and
you go.
try to do the best you can, and try to. That's the other reason Tina is her longevity, and she's prevailed, is that you have to be honest, and you have to be, again, what you see is
what you get.
Is what you get.
Tina, what about you?
Oh boy, I'm like Patty. How much time do we have?
This is a
one
special
of the more
introduction show, guys.
Yeah.
So sit back and relax. We got two legends here, so
No.
if we got to
so
do two
much-
parts, Jason, can we do 2 parts if need be?
Do whatever you want, buddy.
All right
Okay.
then.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, I'll give the Reader's Digest version, but
Ooh, I like that.
the there you just come to a crossroads. I too was about to go through a divorce, just a terrible marriage, 2 young kids, working nights and weekends and everything. So I realized I had to sort my life out and get back on track. So I resigned. Well, not resigned from. Actually, I had another job. Actually, there were 2 jobs, 2 other jobs in the can. So I was preparing for a divorce, preparing to transition to another job. Went ahead and resigned from Wish because there were no openings to get off of weekends, which were creating a whole lot of havoc at home and a lot of other things. So I left.
Can I stop you for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
You say that it was causing havoc at home. Was it because of your career and because of the timing that, being a woman in your industry, you probably had to really do a lot more than the man. But because don't let me put words in your mouth, but because you had to, it did affect your home life.
Well, it was
am
a
I
choice.
going right with that?
It was a choice but my choice was always the job came first, and that did suffer for the marriage. But he knew that going in.
They all know that going in.
They know, and
they
in
knew that
the
going in.
beginning, that's attracted him because I'll get to go see some movie stars and get to travel once in a while, and you'll give me your credit card or things like that. And then in the end, though, then it becomes a resentment because because your job is taking you away from him or your home life. So I grew up in an era where and I will say that a lot of women now on the air, they seem to have it all. They've got the family and the kids. I don't know how they do it. I was very focused on.
Well, it was a different time too, wasn't it?
It's a different time, but
Yeah.
I think it also it still gets back to the person that you're with.
Yeah.
Because we have, I don't want to name anybody, but we had one who had a very successful marriage and a husband that was so willing to accommodate her schedule that, she was able to work nights.
Oh.
And for years, and he would take care of the kids. At that particular time, I didn't have that. And I was getting more and more pressure to, I guess they, like you said, at first they were attracted to it, and then it's like, well, you need to be 9 to 5 so I can do what I want to do, and so on, so on, such as it. So I just need to do a complete reset. So resigned from Wish, was about to take a couple of, and then 9/11 hits.
Oh man.
2001, here comes 9/11.
Oh,
So I've already resigned from Wish. I'm going through a divorce, and I don't have a job because those 2 jobs that I was trying to decide which one I was going to take because I'd already
no
been
longer
accepted
there.
for both. They dried up. The whole country went on shut. So you talk about a worldwide. So yeah, That was you talk about picking yourself up. It's like, okay, so but I had 2 little ones, my babies. I had to take care of them and had to figure out a way. So we made it. And
how do you approach your next relationship? You're not changing what you do. Let's get real. That's what you do.
I gave up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Do you say, okay, do I just give up? I mean, now how do you approach going into another relationship?
Going into another relationship with the full knowledge that I am emotionally lazy right now, that I cannot fix or accommodate one more thing. This is who I am. This is what I do. And so we can either merge and we can be fine and respectful of each other, or, we can keep it moving. It doesn't matter anymore. I mean, I've been there and done that. Yeah. Patty, we've talked about that too. And you get to that point. You have to get to that point because you cannot continually be, I have never, ever, ever tried to influence or change anyone's, either my mate's direction, their focus, their career. I've never ever tried to put pressure on somebody to change who they are or to change what they do. But yet and still, my entire career, that's what's been done to me in relationships, and I'm tired.
Well, not only relationships, but your career too, because I hate to say it, but you got to change who you are because you're a female. Because at the time, you're in a pretty much.
I haven't changed who you are.
Not changed, but opportunities aren't the same then.
No.
So you had to change somewhat or readjust to fit in.
Maybe the times changed with us.
Time changed. Yeah, exactly. I like that one. Yeah.
I didn't change, but the times changed.
The times have caught up to because I think a lot of women who were in that. Let me tell you something. There was
I like it when she don't put her cup down and let me tell you something. Dropped her head.
I was in when I was in management. I was in charge of some interns and some internship programs. Okay. And you talk about just being able to spot right then and there. The intern that came to me and said, "What time do I get off work?" Look, she almost choked on her water. She almost choked.
I remember we'd get interns come in and they wanted to shadow, me. So they'd say, "When do you go to lunch?" Because I did the noon news and then I had to do 1 o'clock news break. I go, you don't go to lunch.
You don't get off from work.
You don't?
There is no clock.
When's your 2 weeks vacation? You don't come into a job and start asking that.
So what do you do with those individuals? Do you?
They disappear.
They disappear. They realize very quickly that this is not for them. They realize that. And we used to always be told. I forgot about that. We were always told that you have to be just a little bit quirky in certain ways. Okay. You know what I mean, Patty? Just a little bit.
I don't know where you're going with this one.
Well, in the sense, not quirky, but in the sense that you do something not everybody can do. And not everybody is going to be willing to do. Right. And when I say that, maybe that's what it seems. Quirky's not a good one. But everybody in their profession, like the way that you succeed and that you go where you go is because you're willing to do what somebody else is not willing to do. And somebody told me a long time ago about don't feel guilty about asking for your, like in your contract negotiations, or don't feel guilty if you happen to make more money than somebody else. And the person who has to criticize you, they need to be quiet too, because until they're willing to do what you're willing to do, until they're willing to sacrifice what you're willing to sacrifice to get to where you are, they have nothing to say. They have no reason to criticize. So you are where you are because you've been willing to do what you do.
When I did entertainment and traveled every weekend,
you
I worked
apologize.
7 days a week. And I counted up 1 year, it was 38 weeks straight.
Yes.
And I worked holidays and I worked Christmas, and people say, "Thank you for working for me for Christmas." Oh, heck, I wanted to win because there's nobody there and then it wouldn't bother you, right? Yeah. So but that was what I wanted to do. But I wasn't doing it. And for that, yes, I got to travel around the world. I got to interview movie stars. But I knew other people in other cities were kind of doing what I was doing. And they'd say, "Well, I take 2 days off during the week." Well, they're not doing it anymore. I mean,
Well, that's why you're the busiest woman in Indiana. Plain and simple.
But no one ever gets to
I don't know how,
exactly,
looking back, I don't know how I did it now.
But people don't get to certain levels in certain professions unless you're willing to make those sacrifices. And willing to do what, you've got to just go a little bit beyond. Not a little bit, but sometimes a whole lot beyond.
The sacrifices give you something that nobody, that
I used to
it's hard to envision because
it puts you in place where you need to be. But I used to ask sometimes, I would ask to work certain holidays because I would think ahead, like, okay, if I ask to work this one,
Yeah.
then I can get this one off. And so you're constantly calculating and weighing and figuring it out. It's like just because you have to work a holiday, there were people in that building, and you know who I'm talking. They would just absolutely be flabbergasted.
You know who she's
that
talking about.
Yeah, well, she knows who I'm. They would be just outdone. It would ruin their whole world if
I
they
know
had
who
to
you're
work a
talking about.
holiday, if they had to do this, if they had to do that. Do it and be quiet and then go on. It's just a hard thing. And if you're not willing to, I don't know, adopt that stance or that mentality, then maybe that's
That's not the job for
It's
you.
not the job for you.
I know who we're talking about. But anyway,
Anyway.
you guys touched on something that is my next question. Times have changed. You guys are still moving forward.
Yes.
You've rebranded yourself, so to speak. You have a talk show that I was on the other day. Thanks for having me on. Patty, I've been on several of your shows. Tell me how you keep going. Tell me how you keep going. How did you keep your brand going and staying the way you guys are in the center of attention with the individuals?
We're back to that. I can't do anything else at this stage of my game too, and
You can
I'm
only
still
perfect
learning
it.
things. But I get to do what I know.
So
how to
what
do.
are you doing? What do our viewers need to know about your new well, they're not even new. They're still going strong, so they're not new.
And well, it's funny because people used to say, "Oh, look, there's the movie lady," and they go now, "Oh, look, there's the dog lady," and that's fine. I'm learning all the day. I've learned things about animals that I never knew. I've always loved them, but I keep learning things.
Tell us about
I
Pet
now
Pal.
have the time to do stories that don't last. Because let's face it, on the news now, they're standing in front of a burning building. It's 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I get to sit down and do a 4-minute, 6-minute, 8-minute story and tell someone's journey. That's what I want to do. I don't want to stand in front of a burning building. That's not what I wanted to do. I never want to do that. But now I have the luxury of having 2 shows which afford me that opportunity. And again, it's a nice compliment to the news.
And one of those shows is an
Oh.
Emmy Award winning Pet Pal.
No, I won that. I did. What do you call it? I did quarterly specials for Wish TV for entertainment.
Okay.
And the one that I won the Emmy for was I won it in 1995. It was
6 Emmys, right?
This is for the Emmys, and it was I went to. They flew us to California. I interviewed Bob Barker, and at the time he was having an affair. He didn't want to talk about that. I saved that for the last question, so he left that. And who's the guy? Wheel of Fortune. I can never remember his name.
Chuck Woolery.
Chuck Woolery?
No. Pat Sajak.
Pat Sajak.
Pat
Sajak and Donna.
And I interviewed, and then I put that together with an interview at home. The number 1 game show in the country was Mark Patrick with the Hoosier Lottery. The local. It was
Local here?
It was the highest rated. I mean,
Oh.
so I had a whole show on that, and that's what I won my Emmy for.
Oh,
But there's 6 Emmys. What about the other 5?
I've gotten lots of nominations, but that's okay. All you have to do is have one. Okay, Emmy winner. That's fine.
But Pet Pals is one of your most notable.
We're up in
things right now.
24 markets, but it's a weekend show. It's not a daily.
Have you won Emmys on Pet Pal?
No,
Oh.
I've been nominated.
Oh,
I've been
okay.
nominated
Emmy
several
nominated
times,
Pet
and
Pals.
nominated a couple times. One of the nominations for Great Day TV was for. We went back and looked at the Hoosiers, the movie,
Oh, okay.
and all the
that's
interviews
nice.
that we did then.
That's nice.
That was fun. Oh, look, there it is. But it's we're statewide magazine show, so it's
Yeah.
where I should be now. It's where I should be now.
What do you think one of your biggest accomplishments has been in your journey?
Survival.
I like that. Survival.
Because I'm a beast. You see what I did?
Boy, that's.
10.
I can't top that. That's it right there.
Oh, come on, you're the queen. Come
No,
on.
not the queen.
You got a show.
Yeah.
AM. Jason, can we pull it up? Can we pull it up?
There it is. Yeah.
The Light.
1310
AM.
The
Tell me
Light.
about that.
It's a community affairs, community issues oriented talk show. We talk politics. We talk city, county, state, local. I mean, we talk all of it. It's just basically keeping people informed and keeping them connected to information and resources that they need.
I noticed, I was going over the website and sitting here listening to you talk. I did my due diligence and stuff. you're very active in the community. Is that just something that you just gravitated to? Because a lot of your stuff is really heartfelt, and you do seem like you really put a lot of effort into the community.
I have. You know what? I kind of slowed down. You know, it just kind of goes up and down, up and down.
When you want to deal with the community, you deal with them. When you don't, you don't.
No. It's just one opportunity. You know, sometimes it's easier to be involved than others, and that's just because of certain things that that take place in your family and your personal life and stuff. But yeah, I am very interested in the community. I do enjoy being active, and what I enjoy more than anything on that show is being able to let people know what they need to know. Which is kind of like being a reporter, basically, or being an anchor or something along those lines. Only I get to infuse a little opinion here and there, and I get to sway. And if I don't want to talk to somebody, I can cut them off and just say, hey, or if somebody becomes rude or what have you, But that's not why I do a community connection. It's just because it's an opportunity, and it allows you to get a pulse on what people are thinking and how they're feeling and what's important to them. Just like the most recent show that I did, we had a simple question. It was open lines. We had a simple question about property taxes. The lines blew up, and people kept talking and talking and talking about it for over an hour. And so I was telling my somewhat co-host, and I said, it sounds to me like we need to do a show on property taxes. And he said, yeah. And I said, so guess what? Everybody out there listening, we're going to do it. So let me get it set up, and we'll do a show on property taxes. Well, a city county councilor was listening and texted me and said, hey, I heard the show about taxes, let's talk. So that makes a difference, because you're helping people. So yeah, and I don't have to.
Yeah, I get that all the time with like for the pet show, and they say, how do you come up with all these ideas? They reach out to me.
People reach out to you a lot.
Once they see one or hear something, then that triggers.
Somebody asked me that. They said, how do you come up with your ideas? I said, I listen to my clients. I listen to people.
Yeah.
And when I listen to people, if it affects you, that means it has affected somebody else. So with that effect part, we're going to ask like two or three more questions before we wrap up. Experience is the best teacher. We've went through Corona. We're still going through Corona. We're going through understanding who we are as individuals. We're questioning leadership on all levels. We're questioning law enforcement. We're even questioning ourselves. Let's be honest. We're questioning ourselves. Start with Patty. If you was a leader, you are a leader. What advice would you give us during these hard times to reinsert a better understanding as humans? Did I say that right, Jason?
No. For me at my age, at this stage of my life, I would say it's different for a young person. I really feel for them because they're having to go through all different emotions right now and challenges. Boy, we've used that word challenge a lot lately, haven't we? You take something that you love and you understand, and you want to learn more about. I don't care if it's knitting. I don't care if you want to play the piano. I don't care. Take it and take it to the next level, or if it's TV. Whatever it is that you do, learn more about yourself before you tell somebody else what to do. That's number one. I think if we all concentrated on being better people and being more receptive and open, as I said, this is Suicide Awareness Month, and we had a friend of ours, Shannon Cagle Dawson, whose husband committed suicide. We need to learn what triggers people when they get outraged or depressed or to the point where they can't function as normal human beings. I'm going to go back to this. I'm not the first one to say this. I think we're more alike than we're different.
Right.
Let's find the things that we're more alike. I mean,
common grounds.
Common ground. There's more things I have in common with Tina than I don't have. And with most people, I think you find that. If you don't get along with that person, maybe it's just better if you just walk away, if they're not doing any harm. So keep to yourself, do the best you can, reach out to those who you identify with, and keep moving forward and learn.
Beautifully put.
As far as leadership, if I were in leadership of this kind of, the first thing you have to do is, as Patty said, listen. Open your mind and surround yourself with people who know more than you.
I believe that.
That's good.
And keep your mind open and receptive to what they have to say. And as long as you're keeping your mind open and you're watching and you're listening and you're learning, you should be okay as a leader. But the minute you close yourself down and say, this is my way or the highway and this is the way it's going to be, your leadership has become ineffective. So I love surrounding myself with people that know more about things, and because I can learn from them, and then I can use my position as a leader to implement it and to put it all together effectively, more effectively, and with wonderful resources. So that's how I would approach leadership.
And share which we're in a position to do, to share their experience.
Yes.
Like Shannon Cagle Dawson, what's been her experience over the past 7 years dealing with the suicide of her husband. She wants to talk about it and say, listen to people, open yourself up. Ask the person, gee, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah.
Be aware they may want to talk about it or they may not, but open yourself up to that point. So, yeah.
And Patty, the
It's
interesting
hard.
thing, it is hard. The interesting thing is leadership at where I am, and I have to take my hats off, is that last year we did a Stop the Music event on World Suicide Prevention Day, which was September 10th. It's September 10th every year. We shut down music across all of our brands. Like I was saying, we do 5 radio stations and 1 TV station, and talked about the issue for 2 hours straight. That has netted a number of recognitions and awards just for doing that. We're doing that again this year. We did it again this year because we did it on September 10th, Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month, September 10th, World Suicide Prevention Day, where we spent the entire day talking about it and letting people call in and share with us and talking about it. In addition to that, we're having something on our airwaves on all of our stations every day of the month that we didn't do last year. Last year we just did it that one day. This year we're doing it every day. So that's a form of leadership that he's watched. He had an idea. We carried it out. He listened, and then we all expanded on it, and people are responding to that a lot more. So again, it's Patty makes an excellent point. I love her point about being able to share what you know and to learn on that and to grow off of that.
I think a lot of problems in the world, if you will, even go back to the Bible, is people get angry and they don't know how to express themselves, and they take it out on violence.
Take it out on other people.
And you've got 1 in 5 people is going to suffer from some form of mental illness.
Depression, yeah.
Or depression, either one. So realize, this is nothing new to humanity. We get mad, and instead of picking up a gun or a bow and arrow or doing something, talk about it. We've got a voice.
Well, we have to normalize the conversation.
Yes,
because
well,
there's mental health and physical health are considered in 2 different categories. When people don't understand, mental health is a physical ailment as well. And so we need to normalize it so that it too becomes a part of the conversation. Like, how's your diabetes doing today? Well, my blood level's up a little. How are you doing today? Well, I'm feeling a little depressed, but I think I'm going to do, so and so and such and such. So the more we talk about it, the more we can normalize it, the more it's accepted, the fewer stigmas that are attached to it, things of that nature. But it all starts with the conversation, and it all starts with being willing to have that conversation.
I'm real worried right now because of and if you go on any of the platforms, Facebook or whatever, Democrat, Republican, it's just
tribalism. Yeah,
I've never seen any. It's people they get rid of their own family members on Facebook because they disagree with them.
The Facebook fights.
And because you can hide behind and type something out, people are more apt to say something nasty.
Right.
Words can hurt, and you can hurt people that way. So think about it again. We're more alike than we're different. Find common ground
and it's all behind. And the other thing is it's all against the backdrop of a worldwide pandemic and economic trauma that so many people are facing. You got 50 million people unemployed. That's not a good thing either. So, yeah, you're right, Pat.
I'm glad you guys brought up the mental illness, the suicide rate, especially among teenagers. I know personally what I'm doing in this fight is we are coming out with a limited edition Beast hoodies with the colors that represent suicide and mental illness to proceeds to go towards these causes to help fight
Wonderful.
this. I encourage individuals to learn how to speak. Don't bottle stuff up inside. We all have something that's in us that even if we feel like that nobody will listen, find somebody that can listen, especially more importantly, the kids. You know, I think with so much going on today, we have really not really focused on the future, which is our kids. Our kids are committing suicide by the dozens from taking medicine to using drugs, and it's really it may be. I'm not a doctor, but it may be the fact that we have been in so much chaos in the last couple of months, from, like you said, unemployment to not knowing where the next meal's coming from, not knowing who to trust because I can't hug you no more. We gotta shut that. We gotta shut that stuff down. We gotta look over at the next generation, our grandkids, our kids, our siblings, and say, "Look, how's your day to day? You know, what can I do for you?" I was at McDonald's, and taking my daughter, our usual drive to school, stopping at McDonald's, and Cinnamon says, I said, "Cinnamon, what do you want?" She goes, "Dad, I want a smoothie and hash brown." Like I didn't know that. So we roll up, get the smoothie, and there was somebody in front of me. Never will forget it. Somebody was in front of me. This just happened Friday, and the lady goes, I gave her my money. She goes, "Oh, the lady in front paid for it." This shows how dumbfounded I was. I'm like, okay. Then my daughter goes, "Well, Dad, you got to play it after we leave." She goes, "You got to play it forward or something." I was like, "What does it mean?" She said, "Well, you got to pay for the people's meal behind
us."
Okay, so
another day.
Another day I'm gonna play it, but it's really sad, and I know for myself, in the state of Beast, that mindset, because that's what Beast is. It's a mindset to do something and to work towards making a difference. You guys have definitely done that. You have been truly an inspiration to this city, and you continue to rebrand yourself. No, let me rephrase that. You haven't rebranded yourself. You guys have taken your brand and elevated it.
Oh, I like
and
that.
It's still elevated. Didn't that sound good? You're still elevating the name. And you know what? And even today, our generations need to recognize the paved layers. That's what I call you guys. The paved layers. The troubles that you guys had to go through, but you're still strong. And more importantly, you're women. And you're women of I don't even like using the word color. You're women of individualism, but you're still doing it on a common cause ground.
I'm a woman of color. I'm pink. I am. I'm Pink Patty, aren't I? That's funny. I went to the grocery store the other day. I was going to say gorgeous, very nice young black guy. I was checking people out, and this was last summer. And he says, "Don't you need some sunscreen?" And I said, "No." I said, "Some people do, and some people don't." I said, "There's black people, and there's white people, and there's pink people like me."
Right.
And he looked at me and goes, "Okay." So, Pink Patty. I'm pink.
Pink Patty. My daughter, when she was little bitty, "Mommy, you're peach."
Oh,
Like,
Peach.
yeah, she always called me Peach. She used to call
See?
me Peach all the time. She grew out of it. She's 23 years old now. But
my daughter calls me coconut brown.
Coconut
Oh,
brown.
I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
It's interesting
I
the
like it.
colors that the kids come
Coconut
up
brown,
with.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. But you know, one thing about branding, get back to that, and Patty and I have heard this so many times over the course of our careers, but I think in this instance, Andre, it applies to you, to Patty, and to me, and that is there is equity in our brands as opposed to rebranding or what have you. That's what allows you to go from
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's brand equity that allows you to go from one chapter, okay, this chapter is gone. Okay, I'm going to try another chapter, next chapter, what have you. If there is equity in your brand, which means that, hey, this is the real deal. They can do it. Brand equity gets you where you need to go as well.
Pick out the best things you can do. Move
Yeah.
forward. Realize change is going to happen. If you don't swim, you're going to sink. And move forward the best you can with a smile.
Yeah,
And don't judge. Don't judge. There's another thing.
Jason, I think that sounded good, didn't you?
love
With
it.
that,
I love
the
it.
whole
It was good.
podcast was great.
It was great.
Well, with that, I'd like to thank Patty and Tina for being
Thank
on
you.
the show.
Thank you for having me.
Tune in again for another episode of the Andre the Beast Show.
The beast.
The Beast.